I'm very thrilled to be here. This is my first time in Scotland, and I have only a few precious days, and I'm kicking myself that I don't have more time. But one of the reasons that I did jet over here to do this was because I'm so impressed with the focus that Craft Scotland is placing on the word craft. You'll see in my biography, I think, that I'm a graduate of a school that was titled the California College of Arts and Crafts when I was a student there, and within the past few years has dropped the craft word, the C word. It is now California College of the Arts, which pains me because I was part of the craft world as a textile and sculpture major. And I'm very fortunate that at this point in my career, I've been allowed to come full circle, having been trained as a craft artist and an artist with a BFA, and having worked for all of my professional life in the world of retail, primarily in fashion. It's been thrilling to me to be able to come back to the world of fine art and craft and be able to marry my passion for art with my professional expertise in retailing, both on the design and marketing sides. I did not start Artful Home. Full disclosure, I've been running the company for nearly 3 years now and had been on the board of directors. But an extraordinary woman named Toni Sykes, who lives in Madison, Wisconsin, started the company, and I'll give you a little bit more history about that. So I don't speak to a written speech, so I'm going to have to keep flipping around because I like to talk to my slides. So Artful Home is a business that was founded as the Guild, and who we are and what we believe is that we are the largest online marketing partner to professional artists and designers, and we particularly use that word professional and are very proud to use it, and I'll speak to that in a second. And we're a destination for art buyers, individual art buyers, as well as trade professionals, or trade pros as we call them, for North American fine craft and art. And currently we only represent the work of North American artists. And we do refer to all of our makers as artists. We actually never use the word makers. I use it in public, but we never think about makers, we think about artists. We sell our work, oh, that's a little dark up there, in two ways. We publish a catalog, and we put out about one of these a month practically, and I do have some copies of our newest one, which is literally just off the press, and therefore I couldn't bring enough copies. We didn't have them yet. But we publish a catalog about once a month, and then we have our website, artfulhome.com. And I'll give you many more examples of this in the future. But as you can see, just looking at the website, we represent work of artists in every possible medium, with the exception of digital, performing, conceptual art. So glass, furniture, and jewelry are our big three, so firmly founded in the world of fine craft. We also represent, it's funny that we think of, there's furniture, glass, sculpture, ceramics, and then there's 2D. Most of the world thinks of art first in two-dimensional art and prints and paintings. That is one more area for us, but we dominate in the world of 3D art. So just a little bit of history of who we are. The company was actually founded as the Guild in 1985 by Toni, who's a dear friend of mine, originally as a publishing business, publishing trade directories for artists. And in 1995, the first Guild source book was shipped, and the source book was a directory that was pretty much based on a model that many other art directories have, in which artists could buy a page in the book to advertise their work. And in 1999, based on what was going on in the greater world and on inquiries from artists, Guild.com was formed. And Guild.com was terribly ahead of its time. Here was the .com boom, lots of venture capital money was poured into Guild.com, and it was a concept that was ahead of its time. The concept was to sell artwork online. And 1999 was a time that was a little bit early for consumers to feel comfortable buying artwork online. And so the concept launched to great acclaim, and a lot of money was spent. The company nearly went out of business, was sold, was bought back, nearly went out of business again, and managed to survive through an awful lot of ingenuity and, well, just a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, apparently. In 2004, it was rebranded as Artful Home. It was thought that from a consumer perspective, the Guild, or Guild.com as the catalog was then called, wasn't really consumer friendly enough. People didn't understand what it was about, and so it was rebranded as Artful Home. A decision which has caused our small company to be riding along with two different brand names ever since, and which I really wished had never happened. Because it's difficult to the artist community at large. They think of us as the Guild. To consumers, we are Artful Home. No company should ever be saddled with two different brand names, Marketing 101, and certainly a small company shouldn't. But that's the situation that we're in. So Artful Home is our primary brand, and that is the website and the catalog. We have had the Guild Sourcebook, which I talked about earlier, which we've put on hiatus at this point because as a small company kayaking through the tsunami, we've needed to be focused, and our focus is on selling the work of North American artists. I told you about the primary venues already. And the number one asset of our business is relationships. The relationships that we have with artists is golden to us, and we're very proud to be thought of, in fact, as the gold standard of online selling among the large North American artist community. It's all based on the quality, and it's based on the fact that we jury all of our artists and all of the work that's on our site. And this is one of the differentiating factors, and then I have talked about that, and it was highly debated at the conference that I spoke at last year. But what jurying does is it assures, first of all, the artist community that they are showing work among their peers. That if they are going to have their work represented by Artful Home, it will be represented next to someone else whose work they also respect. And currently, you'll see two different numbers floating around here, 900 to 1,000. It's a dynamic business, and this time of year, we have a number of artists who come on board just for the holiday season, which ups us to closer to 1,000 artists. We generally talk about 900. So anyway, our relationships with our artists is the number one asset that we have. But then our relationships with our customers is an equally important relationship. When I came on board, I was very critical of my staff and said, everybody here thinks that it's all about the artists, which of course it is, but it's also all about the customers as well. Without our artists, we don't have a business, and without our customers, we don't have a business. No reason to exist. And for an online and catalog business, it's incredible the relationships that we have, in fact, with our customers. We don't ever get to see any of them face-to-face or eye-to-eye. We often don't see many of our artists face-to-face or eye-to-eye, and in fact, we don't see any of the work face-to-face or eye-to-eye, except for samples that get sent into us. So these relationships that we have, relationships cultivated over the phone or in person, but with customers over the phone or online primarily, are critically important, because buying and selling art online that's never been touched or seen by a consumer in person has to be based on faith. So relationships are what we're all about. And so we have the relationships with artists, with individual customers, as well as with trade professionals, about 25,000 of them currently in our database. How do we do it? We're what we call a zero inventory model. We buy absolutely nothing. The way our business works is that we represent the work of these 900 artists, and it is our job to do the very best we possibly can at marketing their work. We have an extraordinary extranet through which we communicate with artists, through which they communicate back to us about turnaround times for work that is represented. They can change those turnaround times if they're going on vacation, if they've gotten sick, if they suddenly can no longer produce work, or if they can produce it faster. But they ship directly to consumers. So we do all of the marketing, we take the orders, we facilitate communication among artists and consumers. Artists ship directly to our customers, and that's the way we work. It's this marvelous system. We have a community of consumers who we think of as fairly elite. This is work by professional artists. This is not, and you'll see a really crass example later, this is not Etsy. These are professional artists whose work is often high ticket, not the highest ticket. We believe the work is extremely accessible and fairly priced, but it does appeal to a higher, more affluent community. We have high credibility with consumers because of our jurying, because of the way that we select work, because of the way we represent it and the way we insist on representing it. Consumers receive what they think they're going to receive, and the entire experience they have, whether it's in talking to our staff, in the way work is shipped, in the way we deal with any issues, is one which make consumers very comfortable, and we get very high scores with them. And we, as I said, we have very high credibility within the artist community, and many artists, particularly during these rough economic times when galleries in the States are closing at record rates, depend on us for a larger and larger share of their business. There are one of our best furniture artists who's been a very top-selling, successful artist for years, now has no galleries showing his work any longer. They have all folded. And when I went to visit him at his studio earlier this year during the summer, he said, "Lisa, you have to keep it going. Otherwise, I'm going to have to get a job." We're in the business of making it possible for artists to continue to pursue their work, and for many of them to pursue that as their full-time job. We have a great deal of internal knowledge, having been around for 25 years. There are many people in the offices who have been with the company since it became Guild.com, since 1999. So their relationships with artists and with customers is very strong. Oops, wrong button. So the quality is really our defining characteristic, and the quality that we speak about the most and that we're proudest of has to do with jurying. All artists and all artists are juried, all work is reviewed. And it's a rigorous jurying process. There's first an internal jury, and then all artists are reviewed by Michael Monroe, who is our external advisor. He has been the director of the Bellevue Art Museum in Seattle. He was the former director of the Renwick Gallery at the Smithsonian Institution. And this review of all artists, and then an internal review of all work, assures that the quality of the work on the site and in our catalog is that which we are proud of, but mostly assures that it is high quality work. How many times can I say that? It means so much to us. Artists, however, are in control of what work gets shown on our site. So we have this great system where they can upload their work, upload what they want to say about the work, and we will review all that. We'll review it for grammar, we'll review it for spelling, we'll review it for clarity to consumers, but they are in control of what work gets shown. So once an artist is juried onto the site, juried into the company, they can upload. We still review everything just to make a final touch, because the name on any transaction is Artful Home to the consumer. Every customer is doing business with us, and so we want to make sure that we represent work accurately to them. There are three ways that artists can come to Artful Home, but as I said, all artists are juried. So on the Artful Home site, and I'll show you in a second, there's a place that on the home page of the site that says, essentially, you want to be an Artful Home artist, here's how you do it. Artists can also apply through a site called Juried Art Services, which represents and advertises competitions throughout the artist community. And we also actively recruit artists at shows. And so we're a small but mighty bunch that attend many shows, and people joke with me because I do advertise it a lot on Facebook and Twitter, and they say, you know, are you ever home? And the answer is infrequently. We do believe that we want to see work and meet artists in person as much as we possibly can.